Welcome to AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 42. 42, my lord.
1942.
I'm the hostess with the mostest. My name is Michael Marcanio, and I'm here with my co-host and everyone's dreamboat, Tyler Revelis, also known as It's Your Boy T. Follow him on Twitter at It's Your Boy T. Follow him on Instagram at Tyler Revelis. All these links are down below. Today we're doing a little bit of headlines, baby. Recent headlines. We're gonna go over the whole Fournette going to the Bucs. We're gonna go. Some people had asked us about some interesting backfields, and so we're gonna go over the Colts backfield. A couple other things as well. Josh Gordon going to Seattle. What we think about that, and then Adrian Peterson as well. So, but before we go into all those things, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating and review on there, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Or go and subscribe to us on YouTube. We have full video format. We work really hard to make it visually pleasing to your eyes, if you could imagine. And then you can see our pretty little faces, and that's wonderful, isn't it? I would say so. But if you want to navigate through the episode, say you don't have enough time to listen to the full length episode, go ahead and look in the description. This is actually true for all of our episodes. I have a little table of contents that I make, and you can literally just scan through. Oh, I want to hear them talk about Adrian Peterson in this one. You can just scroll on through with the podcast app. But if you actually go on YouTube, you can just click the timestamp and it'll take you right to that part of the episode. It's super useful tool. Something that you could use in the future, which I was going to actually plug really quick, is if you want really, really up-to-date information, we're going to go over what we think for these backfields and whatnot, but we're going to go over the matchups every single week. And so look out for that next week. We're going to be releasing an episode. We literally go over every single matchup and who we think is going to do well, who's you could throw it on your bench, who's not worth starting, that kind of thing. So look out for that episode. It should be coming out next week. It'll probably end up being episode like 45, 46 or something like that by then. But all that information is pretty helpful, and we can move on and start the show, baby.
All right. Smooth transition right there.
Oh my God, dude. It's like we've been doing this for much too long. All right. So we're going to start off the first bit of news. We got Josh Gordon goes to Seattle. I like it. I like it for one reason and one reason only. And I think we're on the same page. It's not for Josh Gordon.
It's not for Josh Gordon. Yeah, so the Seahawks, they go out, they sign Josh Gordon. I know a lot of people, they're still drinking the Josh Gordon Kool-Aid. I mean, it's been since 2013 is when he broke out for that crazy year with Cleveland on the Browns. You see it on the highlights right here. That's when he put up that crazy stat. I think it was only like 13 games he played in. Might have been 12 games actually only, but puts up 1,646 yards. But ever since then, the guy just has not been able to stay on the field for whatever reason. You know, obviously it's a large point due to the whole marijuana thing. You know, he'd always get suspended for marijuana, and he kept failing drug tests. He kept violating the league's substance abuse policies and stuff like that. The NFLPA came out with something to now you can no longer get in trouble for smoking marijuana, or I think they test certain levels of THC.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm not 100%. But especially with him living in a city like Seattle where it's legal.
Washington was the first state besides Colorado. I think it was the same year. They were like the first states to legalize marijuana within the state, so it's kind of like full recreationally. So yeah, it is kind of funny. Yeah,
so it's kind of we'll see if this guy can finally stay on the field for a full 16 game slate right here. But I mean, he started off last year with New England. I can't remember what it was exactly. It might have been another marijuana related, or they just cut him or whatever. But he ends up signing with Seattle. Kind of halfway through the year. Only plays 5 games with the Seattle Seahawks right there. And just a little tweet by Mike Clay from ESPN. He said, Josh Gordon only saw 39% of the snaps, only 45% of the routes run in those 5 games, only 7% target share, which is not very good. He didn't have a game over 2 receptions. That was his most. I think he had like 2-1, 2-2-1 or something like that. So just in 0 touchdowns with his 5 games there. Obviously, he's like learning a new offense. Like I said, he only played 5 games there down the stretch. But I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on Josh Gordon. It's just been too long. It's like, how many times do you remember that hype of he had on, that year with the Cleveland Browns where he blew up, and it's like you're just drinking the Kool-Aid, like I keep saying, over and over, where you're just hoping he could be that guy again. I mean, that was 7 years ago. Guy's obviously a little bit older. I still think, this is DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They're the main guys there. If anything, and like you said earlier before we started the segment, like we're on the same page here. It's not so much I'm hyped about Josh Gordon. It's more that I'm hyped for Russell Wilson now because he's got another weapon. They get Philip Dorsett too, former first rounder, just a speedster. And then they signed a guy, Paul Richardson. He used to play for the Seahawks back in the day. I think he went to Washington for a little bit. He came back. So I think they're just really boosting up their wide receiver core there. And like I said, this kind of just makes me like Russell Wilson even more.
Russell Wilson, QB1?
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not. It really isn't. I mean, the dude's so consistent. I don't think he's missed a game in forever. I mean, the guy's Russell Wilson. I mean, he's one of those guys that like you could even match up with another quarterback and play matchups. But I'm starting to think if I have Russell Wilson on my team, I might just play him every single week.
Yeah, he'd be one of those set it and forget it guys for me, especially because you're going to be spending a high draft capital to get him. You're probably going to get him in the 5th, 6th round, give or take, depending on how many teams are in your league and how the draft is unfolding. But yeah, he's one of those guys where, like I said, you set it and forget it for Russ right there. He was kind of like my, I don't want to say dark horse or my sleeper for MVP. Maybe you could call him a sleeper because the guy's never received an MVP vote in his whole entire NFL career. But he was a 15-1 at odds for the MVP. That has now moved down to 10-1 on the William Hill sports betting app. That's the little app out here in Las Vegas. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go at least throw just $100 on him, 10-1. Like I said, I mean the guy's got weapons. You got obviously him and Lockett have that crazy connection. Their passer rating and completion percentage between the two is amongst one of the best in the entire NFL. DK is just, guys like Hulk out there, like Anthony would say, 6'5", 500 pounds. But he runs like a 4.3 40 or something. Just
have you seen the memes about him again?
No.
Because like he took a picture for this year and he just he like grew out a beard and it just he looks so much older.
Yeah,
it's like he went for all the memes were like he looks like he's 18 now. He looks like he's 45. You haven't seen these pictures?
No.
Oh, they're pretty funny.
But yeah, so I still
right.
think Lockett and Metcalf, like this doesn't affect their value. The Josh Gordon sign, this does not affect Lockett and DK Metcalf's value for me personally. Whatever their ADP is right now, like in the 4th, 5th round. We actually did a draft the other day. Metcalf went in the 7th round of a 12-team PPR league. I was pretty stunned that he lasted that long. So yeah, I don't think Josh Gordon is going to affect these guys' value at all. They're still going to be on the field, 85% of the snaps. I mean, do you think that it affects their value at all, or are you kind of just like your rankings and your ADP for these guys are staying the same?
No, I mean, I think they found their guy in guys like DK Metcalf. It doesn't really affect, if that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't affect my value on those as much until you start to see, unless I start seeing like B reports of Josh Gordon like going in and practice and doing really well. I mean, I know he was with Seattle, so he does know that offense a little bit, but I think, I still think that those guys are going to be at the same spot.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he hasn't been there for all the training camps. Obviously there's no preseason game, so how good of football shape is he going to be in? That's yet to be seen. I mean, right now he's probably, I would put him as the wide receiver 4 on the team behind Philip Dorsett. I'd put Philip Dorsett as the number 3 wide receiver there, and Josh Gordon would probably be the number 4. I think if anything happens to one of these guys, they get hurt or COVID for whatever reason, that could be a scenario where we really see Josh Gordon's value and what he can do in that offense. But yeah, for me, this is just more of a boost to Russell Wilson, adding more to the confidence that I have in him and his potential MVP type season.
Hammer that MVP bet, dude. I like it. Anything else on that Josh Gordon you want to move on to?
We can move on.
Let's move on to the Washington backfield. We have a strange gentleman named Adrian Peterson, not strange, an older gentleman named Adrian Peterson, who is no longer on the team. Where do you think? So Adrian Peterson leaves Washington. Where do you think he'll end up going? That's like the real question. Actually, that's not so much the real question, but it is curious. I mean,
what are the questions you could say? There's multiple questions here. Where does AP land? Because he's going to get picked up. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer, savvy veteran.
Yeah.
But then also questions with Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love and this Washington backfield. What's that going to be like now going forward? But staying on AP, like you said, I think he's going to get swooped up by somebody. When the whole Fournette thing was going on, there was a lot of rumors that maybe the Bears could be a potential landing spot. You still got Montgomery dealing with a groin injury. He might miss a game or two potentially. So I think having a guy like AP for the Bears, he goes back into that NFC North division, and he backs up David Montgomery in the Bears. He's just a savvy veteran. That could be a potential landing spot for me. I mean, no receiving upside. That would still be Cohen's role, but I think the Bears is a good little situation that he can end up on. I mean, what do you think with it?
Yeah, I mean, I right when you said Bears, that sounds interesting to me. It does seem like David Montgomery might actually come back sooner than we thought. But, yeah, I mean, that or even the Eagles, I could see that too.
Yeah.
But that being said, what do you do if you have Adrian Peterson? Because you drafted him in a league, or you dropped him actually before. Yeah. So if you have him in a redraft league, are you just dropping him?
I mean, for right now, the reason why I took a shot on AP is because, I mean, he was still productive. I know he's getting older, but, I mean, in his 2 years with Washington, 211 attempts, ran for 4.3 yards per carry, and another year, 251 attempts, so over 200 rushing attempts in back-to-back years, 4.2 yards per carry that other year, pretty much 900 rushing yards one year, and then a little bit over 1,000 the other year. So still productive, still guys getting it done. Obviously, he doesn't offer any receiving upside, so he's kind of just like a bruiser, goal line back. So I was thinking, when I drafted him in the later rounds of this last draft we just did, Mike, all right, could this guy see another 150, 200 touches? It's there. So, just for the volume, I took it there.
Right.
I have a decent amount of running backs, so I was like, okay, I don't really need him. When am I really going to play him? And Gesicki was on the waiver wire. And I just felt like the trade equity. You always hear me saying trade equity. I felt like the trade equity of me being able to move a guy like Gesicki in a package deal was more than am I ever going to start Adrian Peterson? I don't know. If you have him, I would feel comfortable dropping him.
Yeah.
I'd much rather take a flyer on someone else and see what happens. It's just he's obviously got to go to a new team, which he's going to have to learn a new offense. And he's not going to be the guy. I don't think he steps into a role where he sees 200 plus touches again, like he did the last 2 years in Washington.
Yeah. He's an old boy.
Yeah.
That being said, yeah, I would drop him too. That's where I'm at as well.
Depending where, obviously we're going to revisit this subject when, he gets signed by somebody, we'll be like, okay, now we can really assess his value. Is he worth picking up and stuff like that? But for right now,
the thing is though, there's guys like Devontae Freeman that are still not on a team. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously Devontae Freeman is asking for more money and whatnot, but yeah. So do we have a Fournette situation? I don't think so. I think we're more towards, I don't know. He's gonna be cheap, so it's possible, but
yeah.
Till then, drop him.
I think what it was too is that the Washington Redskins, the Washington football team, they have a new offensive coordinator. It's Scott Turner. That's Norv Turner's kid. So, he kind of runs that same system that Norv Turner runs. And in that system, you need a running back who can be heavily utilized out of the backfield and catch the ball. Like I just said, AP, not the receiving upside is not there. I don't want to say he can't catch the ball, but he's not known for being this receiving back.
Right.
He actually came out and said, Antonio Gibson, we can touch on him, I guess you want.
Yeah,
he was saying Antonio Gibson fits this system perfectly. It's like they went out and drafted this guy because they knew that he could slide right in and be the guy. It's kind of weird because throughout training camp, it was AP and Antonio Gibson. They were pretty much splitting the first team reps, back and forth. So it's a little weird that they just kind of ship off or they cut Adrian Peterson. But, yeah, AP even came out himself and said, yeah, this offense just suits him better. He fits in and he meshes really well for what he can do. And, his Antonio Gibson's skill set, it's just it works.
Right. Yeah, you said you thought Antonio Gibson was going to be a slot receiver. You thought he was going to be pushing a slot receiver. So that being said, because he was a wide receiver running back in college. So, I mean, PPR leagues, Antonio Gibson has super good upside, in my opinion. You know what I mean? He's going to be almost like the way Chris Thompson was, but hopefully more healthy, and more, just better.
Yeah. So here's my thoughts on this Washington backfield now. I mean, obviously, I did think Antonio Gibson would be kind of like a slot receiver. He's a big boy, though. Big boy. 6'1", 225 pounds. So, he's stocky. He's built like a running back. I think that, like I said, when I thought he could be a slot receiver, it just shows that like how good of his receiving ability is. And if they want to move him out, then they can. And that guy's just like a mismatch nightmare, for these linebackers. I mean, he ran a 4.39 40. If you watch this, I always say that, he ran a 4.39 40. He ran with the wide receivers, but he gets drafted as a running back. But the 4.39 40 would have been tied with Jonathan Taylor for the fastest among all the running backs. So, I mean, the guy's got blazing speed. And he's just a playmaker. I mean, 12 touchdowns on only 71 touches last year. He was utilized out of the backfield and then utilized in the receiving game as well. I always refer back to him. He's like a Percy Harvin to me. He's bigger than Percy Harvin, but that's just what he is. A guy, you can line him in the backfield. Obviously, he's going to be the running back. But, if they want to throw him into the slot, he's more than capable to line up out there and be a slot guy.
I'm excited. I drafted Antonio Gibson a little bit later in a round in the draft. I'm hyped on it.
So what round now that you got him? What round did you get him in? Like the 10th round?
I think I think I actually went a little bit earlier than I wanted to, but that's just because I was on like the end, and so I knew. Especially I'm drafting with you, so it's like I know if it comes around, that's 2 whole rounds and it might not come back to me. So I drafted him a little bit earlier. I think I was in the 9th or 8th round, maybe even.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm down to take him there. The thing is that you gotta also realize is that this team is not gonna be good. I don't think they're gonna be as bad as last year, but I still don't think they're going to be a great team. I could be proven wrong. I could be wrong on this. Even in a division that's not with the Eagles and these other teams that don't seem to do that well during the year or had pretty shitty records last year, I still think they're going to struggle. So that being said, I don't know if I would take him earlier than I don't even think I would take him in the 5th.
Yeah, see,
and I feel like he can do. I think he might boost up, especially if you're drafting over the weekend. I think he definitely could boost up into something like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm probably like the 5th round is where I'll start to gauge and look at him right there. I mean, you still have running backs like Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
Mostert's going there. I'm not really big on the Niners backfield. I think it's just there's
too many question marks, especially with Jerick McKinnon coming back, dude. You have no idea what's going on back there.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, I agree with you. I don't think this is going to be a very good offense. I mean, according to Pro Football Focus, they have the 4th worst offensive line, so that's not very good. But like you said, he's going to make his bread and butter being able to be utilized out of the backfield and get some of those catches, especially in PPR. But like I said, I think 5th round is probably where I'll start to.
That's where I'll start to look,
gauge and look at
not
him right
where
there.
I'll take him, but like I'll start being like, okay, maybe I'll grab a Gibson.
Yeah. But this, I mean, and we might be completely wrong on this. Like he might be one of those guys where it's like, man, I got him in the 5th round, and he emerges out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he's like this stud guy. I mean, like I said, it was him and AP who were splitting the first team reps, and for them to get rid of AP, who is, like I said, 200 plus touches, back-to-back years. He knows the offense. He's been running with the ones all training camp, and then for them to cut him at the last second means like they have all the confidence in the world for this guy to be something special or to be what they think that he can be. So I mean, 5th round might even be low, to be honest with you, but that's maybe where I'm gauging him. Maybe I'll sneak into the 4th round depending on my roster construction and where things are going. But I mean, the guy is super talented. It's like, okay, you're obviously getting Jonathan Taylor. We're going to touch on him later. He's going in that same area right there. So it's like you have to put them in that same tier now. Like he now.
But that's what I mean. It's like who would I rather have, a running back behind the Colts line or the running back behind the Washington football line?
Yeah,
I hate that team name. It's so fucking annoying. I just want to say anything but that. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, in that situation, I'm going Taylor probably, but yeah, it is crazy to see his value boost up just like that.
Yeah,
but it could be because they have so much faith in Antonio Gibson, or because they also have another guy there, which we can talk about right now, is Bryce Love, and they might have it might be a combination of they have faith in Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love together. To take over this running back or this backfield. So I'm not mad if you snag Bryce Love late, maybe like last round or something like that. I picked him up in a league where I had I think I dropped I don't even know what I think I dropped like one of my last picks to go grab Bryce Love because you never know what happens. People get injured, things like that, COVID, whatever. But I wouldn't drop too much for him. You know what I mean? Don't expect to start him in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's a late round flyer. I mean, I think in a general, just kind of like looking at the landscape of this running back room for the Washington football team. I mean, Antonio Gibson, obviously, he's the guy. Bryce Love's getting a lot of chirp as well. His name keeps getting brought up. I think he's a late round flyer. Grab him. I'll go a little bit deeper on him in a second. But then they still have Peyton Barber, who's kind of a bruiser. And I think that's why they moved on from AP. They were kind of like, all right, like AP and Peyton Barber are the same guy. They're like these bruising running backs. Peyton Barber, 0 receiving upside. I'm going to talk about him when we go back into the Bucs backfield when we touch on Fournette and Rojo. But, yeah, so I think Peyton Barber's kind of like that bruiser guy. I think he's going to see a decent amount of carries, actually. And then they have J.D. McKissick, who's a nice little scat back. He kind of reminds me of like a Chris Thompson, so I think he's going to be utilized as well, on third downs and stuff like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if J.D. McKissick leads the team in targets, honestly. Like Chris Thompson is kind of what he reminds me of on this team. But, yeah, touching on Bryce Love right here, I mean, he had the crazy year at Stanford in college. If he would have came out, I think he would have been a first-round draft pick. He decides to come back to Stanford for one more year. I think he tore his ACL halfway through the year, something like that. It hurts his value. Pretty much sat out all the year. But, there's been a lot of reports saying he looks good. But late-round flyer to me at the most. I mean, and just, a report right here. It says, reports, quote-unquote, in time, he could be the guy. And the team feels that, quote, in a couple of months, he can get back to where he was in college, end quote. So the team came out and just said in a couple of months he can be back to where he was in college. Well, guess what? The season starts in a week, and in a couple of months the season's going to be over. So
yeah,
what does that do for me now? Like, I don't understand
for that. Fantasy relevance. It's
I don't understand what that quote means, or I don't understand
how
that
people
quote
are
can
using
boost some confidence into,
right.
Oh,
how
man, I think
people are
Bryce Love is going to be like this guy. Like I had an open roster spot in one of my leagues. I went out. I just grabbed him. I'll throw him on there. He's a flyer. I'll hold on to him, see what happens. But, I mean, he's been running with the second and third string offenses, so he hasn't really been getting any first-team reps like Antonio Gibson has. And I guess they were kind of saying it was between him and AP, that in terms of like who was going to make this final 53-man roster, and they went with the younger guy. I mean, going forward, I think it could be Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love as the guys. Peyton Barber's not very talented in my opinion. J.D. McKissick's kind of just like a gadget kind of guy. So, I mean, yeah, going forward, I think that's why they wanted to hold on to Bryce Love. AP obviously on the tail end of his career, a little bit older as well, so they probably just want to see what they have in Bryce Love at least another year. But yeah, that comment did not make me feel very confident in him. A couple of months from now, he can be back to where he was.
Right.
Like
what? Yeah, like you said, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, not a bad stash. Throw him on there.
Yeah.
But we can move on to our next bit. We got Jonathan Taylor or Marlon Mack. So Marlon Mack did really well last year. The guy, he just absolutely killed it. But they go out and draft Jonathan Taylor. What round did they draft him in?
Second round.
So, that being said, that totally screws up Marlon Mack's value, and it kind of – there's a lot of people who have Marlon Mack or have Jonathan Taylor, and they don't know what it's going to come to. This is like one of those more confusing backfields, and we've actually had a lot of people, besides this one, the Devin Singletary one, which we released something on that a couple days ago. But these are some of those backfields that are confusing, and you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Marlon Mack did pretty well for you last year if you had him on your team. We went and looked at – you have a couple stats on that. What do you think about Marlon Mack? Are you gonna start him week 1? Are you gonna what do you think is gonna happen? Do you think Jonathan Taylor takes over right away, or it takes some time? I think personally it's gonna take a little bit of time for Jonathan Taylor to completely take over, but I think it is inevitable. I think it will happen. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like top of my head, scenario that kind of comes to mind is, last year with David Montgomery on the Bears, kind of hyped that he would, come out the gates and be hot, but Mike Davis was there and he was still getting a ton of run, but as the season went on, they ended up releasing Mike Davis. I'm not saying they're going to release Marlon Mack, but they ended up releasing Mike Davis, and then they kind of handed the keys over to David Montgomery, and, he had 240-something rush attempts. But I think that could be a similar situation, like you said. Like, I think at first it'll be a running back by committee. But, I mean, you don't go out and draft a guy in the second round who's got 4.39 speed, that you can have him sitting on the bench, And, just some numbers on Marlon Mack right here. I had him in a couple leagues last year. He was just so boom or bust for me. I mean, just no receiving upside. Hasn't played a full 16-game season yet. He's in a contract year, so I think they just hold on to him for depth. But he will not be on the Colts next year, in my opinion. I think next year we could be talking in a scenario where Jonathan Taylor's going in the back end of the first round, second round at the latest. I think that's the scenario next year with Jonathan Taylor. But only 2 of the 14 games that Marlon Mack played last year did he have 70% or more of the snaps. And in 7 of the games, he had under 50% of the snaps. And that was not with Jonathan Taylor on the team. So Jonathan Taylor can easily, in my opinion, be the best running back on that team right now. So if he's barely playing 50% of the snaps in 7 of the games without Jonathan Taylor, what is that snap percentage going to dip down to now that a guy as athletic and talented as Jonathan Taylor's on the team? And then also this, like I said, he was a little boom and bust last year. 7 games in both full point and half point PPR. He had under 10 points. It was just gross. I mean, like he was either putting up like 20 points because he'd get you like 100 and something yards and a touchdown, or, I mean, we were looking at some of the numbers, 20 rushes for 50 yards, 19 rushes for 40 yards. And it's just like, I don't understand how, we're always hyping up this Colts offensive line of being so good. And it's like, how can you get that many rushes and not be productive with it? I think they noticed that, and that's why they went out and they got Jonathan Taylor. I mean, one thing I can say about this is week 1, someone hit us up and they're like, hey, who do you feel more comfortable starting in week 1? I'm not going to say I don't feel comfortable starting Marlon Mack. They play the Jaguars week 1.
I think you could honestly, that playing that defense, you could almost start either one.
Yes, Marlon Mack would be like a flex guy. Like Mike said, each week we go through the matchups one by one. We'll go through the games. We'll go through all the players, start them, sit them. What are their floors? What are their ceilings? Who do we like? Who are we fading? But yeah, Marlon Mack to me, he'd be like a flex guy. I'd be willing to start him in there. I mean, the Jaguars' defense is not very good. Last year they gave up 5.1 yards per carry. That was amongst the worst in the NFL. 139 yards on the ground per game given up. And they also allowed the second most rushing touchdowns in the NFL. And the Jaguars' defense got worse. They're just trading everybody away. They're shipping people off. Like the Jaguars defense no longer the Jacksonville Jaguars defense.
Not even close. Like we did that bit on the Patriots defense being not this is like tenfold compared to the Patriots defense not being the good defense anymore. I mean, this is like and then I saw they traded that safety Ronnie, or what's his name, Harrison, to the Browns. It's like that's like their starting safety. They are tanking.
Yannick Ngakoue or Ngoku or whatever.
He said he
traded to the Vikings. So they're just shipping everybody off. But I think Marlon Mack could be a flex guy. I think going forward, this is going to be the Jonathan Taylor show. I mean, I'm starting Jonathan Taylor with confidence that week 1 because they could be blowing out the Jaguars, and we could see a scenario where both of these guys see 15 touches. You know, and like I said, Jonathan Taylor's he's a home run guy. If you ever watch this tape, if you want to touch on him real quick, if you want to touch on Jonathan Taylor, home run guy out of Nebraska. I mean, he's not, like Dre would say, he's not new to this. He's true to this.
Wisconsin.
The guy is used to. Oh, I said Nebraska. My bad. Wisconsin. I knew it was one of those red and.
No, you're good.
Confused. But like Dre would say, he's not new to this. He's true to this. A guy he's been the workhorse. 300 carries in all 3 years or something like that. Something crazy. A lot of usage in that Wisconsin offense.
Actually, before we did the draft companion for the actual NFL draft, we did a bunch of rookie breakdowns, and I think Jonathan Taylor was like one of the guys we liked the most. Just looking at film.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and he ends up in a dream scenario. I mean, like I said, Marlon Mack's in a contract year. He probably won't be there next year. He's behind one of the best offensive lines. They just locked up their center, Ryan Kelly. They made him the highest paid center in NFL history. It's always the next man up who gets the highest contract. But so one of the best offensive lines, and they have one of the easiest rushing schedules in terms of strength of schedule for the running back position. So we could see a scenario where Jonathan Taylor really breaks out down the stretch. Like I said, I agree with you. I think Marlon Mack's still there, but I think over a course of time we'll see that who's the better talent here, And I think Jonathan Taylor, his talent will prevail over Marlon Mack. But then also they got Naheem Hines there, who's going to be like the third down pass catching specialist. I don't think Marlon Mack or Jonathan Taylor really offer any receiving upside.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, week 1 against the
This made
Jaguars.
me want to draft target.
All it takes is one rush for that guy with his speed and that offensive line, and how bad
that was
the Jaguars
pretty nasty juke right there.
and how bad the Jaguars defense is. All it takes is one rush, and he could take it 50, 60 yards.
Take it to the house. Put it in the end zone. Spike that shit.
Yeah, I like Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
He's going like so. If you're gonna pick one between him and Gibson, you're going Jonathan Taylor every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be.
It's
tough.
just the Colts O line. It's just that the Colts O line is insane. Washington. I mean, if you're looking at two players and you're just like, okay, I can't. You're splitting hairs. I'm gonna look at the team. What team is that on? Okay, I'm going to look at the team, especially if you're looking at running backs, game script-wise, probably going to be ahead in a lot of games. I think the Colts will easily take that division. I think, I think the game script-wise, you're going to have a lot of rushing because they're just going to be up early. Just be dropping points on your fantasy team, dude. But, yeah, we can move on to this news right here made me super, super happy. Our boy, Leonard Fournette. It only was 48 hours. What was it? I don't even think it was that long.
That show, First 48?
Yeah, it's the first 48 for Leonard Fournette. He ends up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is just trying to build a super team. They want a Super Bowl with that super team. I mean, I was in a situation where I went Cam Akers, Leonard Fournette on the turn, and I was deathly scared that Leonard Fournette was going to end up on the Rams, and I would have been double screwed. But he went to Tampa Bay, and I think there's much worse places he could have gone, and I'm pretty happy about it.
So with that being said, what do you think his value is compared to Rojo? Like, how do you assess Fournette's value? How do you assess Ronald Jones' value now?
I think. Do you know the contract details?
I think it was 1 year, $1 million.
Oh, actually, you know what it was? Dude, Leonard Fournette, because I actually read about this. I don't know why I asked you. They purposely signed him under $1 million, so that way he could get his $4.1 million guaranteed from Jacksonville. And then with that, they said like an incentive bonus structure, so he's actually getting like $7 million.
Okay.
With both of them. So I think, which a lot of it's not actually coming out of Tampa Bay's pocket, so it's like good for him. So I think they're going to use him, man. I think they're going to utilize him. Ronald Jones has been there for a while. He's been there under Bruce Arians' offense. They go out and draft Keyshawn Vaughn, so obviously they're looking to, step up their running back game. I think I just can't imagine Leonard Fournette going there and not being used as like their workhorse. But that's just my opinion. I think I'd be very surprised. I mean, the guy can handle a huge workload. I think they're going to try and give it to him. I don't know if they're going to do if Tom Brady's in Bruce Arians' ear trying to do a similar running back offense as the Patriots have done in previous years. So I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Leonard Fournette should be getting the goal line work if you ask me, but that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm just a Leonard Fournette truther, but that's what I think.
And what about Ronald Jones?
So Ronald Jones, I'm gonna try and trade him now if I had him in a league. I mean, I didn't target him in any leagues because I always say don't draft a Buccaneers running back, but yeah, I'm trying to fade on Ronald Jones, to be honest. I think you have a different opinion about our Rojo.
Yeah. Well, we could touch on Fournette real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, you're saying his you want to go back to the Fournette table for you, boy. Yeah, there you go. All right, so yeah, Fournette, 341 total touches last year, the third most. I know you kind of heard you say you think he's going to be like this workhorse running back. I would disagree. I don't think he gets even remotely close to what he had.
I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to get 350 touches. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah,
he'll get a bulk of it. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, 100 targets, 76 receptions. We all expected those numbers to dip, when he was on Jacksonville because of the addition of Chris Thompson with the Jaguars. I don't think those numbers are going to be sustained even now that he's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like I said, 340 total touches, third most. He had a 92% snap share, which was second highest, only behind Christian McCaffrey. So, I mean, the guy was out on the field pretty much every single play. I think that's where his value came from. Obviously, couldn't find in the end zone at all. But, I mean, to me, I'm still kind of on the Rojo train right now. I think what it is what he could be last year. I don't think Fournette's going to come in and just take over, and we're just, Rojo's just going to be in the back burner. I mean, last year, Ronald Jones saw 37% of the snaps. Peyton Barber saw 30% of the snaps. And Dar Ogunbowale, I'm butchering that name right there, he saw 31% of the snaps. So you pretty much had a trio of running backs right here who were on the field. Ronald Jones is still there. You got Peyton Barber, who's no longer there. To me, Leonard Fournette becomes the Peyton Barber of this offense. I mean, Peyton Barber still saw 154 rush attempts, so he still was heavily utilized. Ronald Jones saw 172, so like I said, it was kind of a running back by committee. And then you have Dar, who was kind of the pass-catching specialist, not a ton of carries, but he was the guy who was more heavily utilized in the passing game out of the three. That's kind of where I think LeSean McCoy will be. We'll touch on him in a second. So I feel like this is going to be the same kind of breakdown, in my opinion, of just what they was last year. You just have different guys in the offense. Obviously, you'd want to have a guy like Leonard Fournette over Peyton Barber, 100%. I mean, Leonard Fournette went 4th overall in the draft, and you're getting that guy for under $1 million. Like, sign me up. He's going to be better than Peyton Barber. And the one thing I could say about Fournette is that I agree with you. I think he gets all the goal line carries. I mean, Peyton Barber had 8 carries inside the 5. Led all the Tampa Bay Bucs running backs. Ronald Jones only had 2 carries inside the 5, so Ronald Jones was not the goal line back. Even Dar had 7 carries inside the 5, so he had way more than Ronald Jones did. It just shows me that Ronald Jones is not the goal line back for this team. It's obviously going to be a bigger bruiser back. I think that's what Fournette is right here. Some good numbers that where I think Fournette can thrive in this offense. 92% of Peyton Barber's rush attempts came from under center last year, and he averaged only 3 yards per carry. When Fournette was rushing under center, he averaged 4.6 yards per carry. Should be a lot better. You can't really stack the box. It's a better offense on the Bucs compared to the Jaguars. So I think, obviously that should help him out. He's a better Peyton Barber, like I was saying right there. But I just don't think that he's just going to come in and take over automatically. If he was so good, I don't see why nobody took a shot on trying to trade for him.
Okay, I can't. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, Pro Football Focus grades right here. 2017, he was the 51st graded running back. In 2018, he was the 33rd highest grade running back. And then last year, even though he had 340 touches, he was a really serviceable running back for you because of the volume he got. But the 46th graded running back. So it's not like, I don't know, that's nothing that's sexy to me right there.
But every year, he except the year that he played 8 games, I think he had 600 yards, 650 or something like that. Every year he gets over 1,000 yards, almost 1,200 yards. The past 3 years, the guy I know it's not
but he's heavily utilized to get that
right. But but here's my point about the Bucs is if the Bucs were if Ronald Jones gonna be like they have so much faith in Ronald Jones, why the fuck are they drafting Keyshawn Vaughn? Why are they picking up LeSean McCoy? Why are they getting these older running backs going and grab Leonard Fournette? Obviously, to me, that shows me that they don't have faith in Ronald Jones, and then they're looking for a different option or looking to make it like a running back by committee. But I don't to me that tells me they're jumping off the Ronald Jones train. They've tried it for years. What is it? How long has he been there? 4 years? 3 years?
No, he's going on his 3rd year. He's only 23 years old, so it's not like he's still a young buck, I guess you want to say.
I mean, it's hard when you got Jameis Winston. I mean, he's more of a gunslinging quarterback, so it's a little bit different. And I think the offense is going to be a little bit different this year. But I think when they sign a Leonard Fournette like that, obviously they're not giving him a ton of money, but he's just because of contract details. I don't know, man. But that goes to the question: am I starting Leonard Fournette week 1? I'm probably going to sit back and wait, especially because he's got to learn the playbook, learn all that shit, and especially it takes a while for guys. Tom Brady, I could imagine, is helping out in the offense. It's going to take him a second to learn everything. You go from the Jaguars, who just kind of, to me, are like an all over the place organization. And I also don't believe when Doug Marrone's saying, "Oh, we couldn't get anything for him," it's like, dude, they hated that guy. That organization, when you have players on the Jaguars saying, "Oh, I'll take a $6 million pay cut to get off this team," what does that say about the organization? To me, it tells me that organization doesn't give a shit about their players. You know what I mean? And then he goes to an offense where Bruce Arians is known as the players' coach. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't believe that. Like, oh, we couldn't get anything for him. I think they were lying. I don't believe that. I don't even think that they were looking.
I don't know. I
think maybe they could be.
Someone's willing to offer a 7th-round pick for Kalen Ballage, for them to not get anything, it just doesn't make sense.
No, I don't.
For you to dump him for nothing when you could get something. 5th round, 6th round, 7th round pick. Anything is better than nothing. So for them to not even move him for something,
I guess you're making a point. Yeah.
Is a little. I don't know. It just means something to me, at least. But I mean, like, yeah, I do agree. He's got some. You know what? He kind of reminds me, for what I think he could be in this offense, is LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, so that's exactly. I was thinking the same thing. But LeGarrette Blount that year in New England had what, 16 touchdowns?
Yeah. So like I said, I just went over the carries inside of the 5. Peyton Barber was the main guy there. Dar got 7. Ronald Jones only 2, so not the goal line back. I don't think Ronald Jones is going to be the goal line back. But if you can get a bruiser like a Fournette, I think his value is going to be touchdown upside.
Yeah.
Not his receiving upside, because he's not going to get 100 targets.
No, I agree. His receptions.
So his receptions are going to come down massively. I would be surprised if he even got 30 receptions, to be honest with you. So I think he's not going to see I don't think he sees over 200 rushing attempts. Like I said, last year Rojo had 172, Peyton Barber had 154. I think we could see that same scenario again, where it's like another 150, 160, 170 each in a sense. But I think the touchdown upside of him being the goal line back in a how high-powered offense is what's intriguing to me for Fournette. But I can't see a scenario where Ronald Jones is just phased out of this offense and he's just non-existent anymore. No. Like I said, even on only a 37% snap share, Ronald Jones finished as the RB 25. I think if anything, this boost brings Ronald Jones value from this like back-end RB2 to now he's more of like an RB3 flex guy. I think he'll have some good games. Yeah, and like week 1, I'm still dialing up Ronald Jones because, like I said, Fournette's still got to learn the offense. He's still got to get acclimated with that. So I'm still dialing up Ronald Jones in week 1 and see what happens right here. But I mean, you don't know. For whatever reason, Ronald Jones could come out guns hot. And to me, I'm one of these people like, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. So let's say week 1, Ronald Jones comes out and he's on fire. Week 2, he comes out, another good game. I still think Fournette will have that role, like I said, as the bruiser goal line back. But it'll be tough if Ronald Jones comes out hot for them to take the guy off the field, especially if he gets in nice and Brady's like, hey, man, the guy's balling, you got to keep him on the field. Like I said, I think this is going to be a running back by committee again. So I'm kind of, we're kind of hoping that Ronald Jones could be like this workhorse kind of running back or, push that threshold of starting to become a workhorse. I think this brought it back down to earth of where you're going to see a trio of Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, and LeSean McCoy, kind of the same exact scenario like it was last year with Ronald Jones, Peyton Barber, and Dar Ogunbowale.
Yeah,
his name.
I don't know. I just could see that Bruce Arians. I mean, he ran David Johnson into the ground.
David Johnson's a different player than a Fournette, though. David Johnson was, had the ability to line up outside and play receiver. Leonard Fournette's not lining up outside. I mean, I know if Anthony was here, he would say, Fournette had 76 receptions, but they were ugly receptions. It's just, but I don't know. Well, this is one of those things.
It'll be interesting, but it's good to talk about a little bit,
Yeah. So with that being said, like, are you like all in on Fournette? Like, because if you had a draft during that 48 hours, like you said, we were joking around the first 48. Like, if you had a draft during that first 48 hours, like Fournette was probably going in the later rounds, and Ronald Jones was still probably going in like the 5th round, give or take. Now with this scenario, like, where are you assessing these guys? Are you still taking a shot on Ronald Jones? Are you drafting Fournette in the 4th, 5th round? And Fournette was going like in the 3rd or 4th round. Yeah. Are you still going 3rd or 4th round with Fournette?
To be honest, it probably puts me back. It puts me a little bit. So in that 48-hour window when he was not on a team, I think I said I'll maybe take him in the 7th round at the earliest. I think I would take him in the 6th round or 5th round, maybe even in drafts now. But like you're saying, I don't know if he'll be the workhorse running back there, but I do think that he is going to be involved big time. I think he has upside. Receptions could go down, but in a standard league, I'm down to grab him earlier, maybe the 5th. Probably PPR leagues, maybe the 6th.
Yeah,
at the the least.
I mean, for me, like I said, I think
the lowest.
I think Ronald Jones' role is carved out. They know what he is. I think Leonard Fournette's real value is going to be his touchdown upside. I mean, could the guy get you 8+ touchdowns? 100%. Could he get you 10 touchdowns? I mean, 100%. Like I said, I think one of the best comparisons could be what LeGarrette Blount was for that Patriot offense in the past. I mean, I guess 5th round is good right there. I don't know if I'm going forward. I have a couple drafts coming up in the next couple of days. I don't know if I'm really going to be targeting either one of these guys anymore. Honestly, like we were talking about him earlier, but I think I'd rather take Antonio Gibson for his ability to. I know it's not as good of an offense, but for a guy who could see 250 touches, who has the home run ability, because Fournette he doesn't have the home run ability. He can't break it that 70-yard run for you.
Right.
So I might have all those guys in like a tier, and I just don't know how comfortable. Like I said, I feel like if Fournette doesn't get in the end zone, I don't think he puts up enough in terms of rushing yardage, receptions, and receiving yards. I don't think he puts enough up in those like stats alone to have a serviceable fantasy day. Like, you're banking on him to get into the end zone. But if he does get into the end zone, I think he's going to be, obviously a good running back for you. Touchdowns, man. Touchdowns are king.
Touchdowns. I mean, if you had LeGarrette Blount, like we were making that comparison that year, dude was money.
Yeah.
But yeah, McCoy. Sorry, I don't think we touched on it really, but I mean, I'm staying away from McCoy. I think he's. Yeah. I think, like you're always saying, if he can't do it on the Chiefs' power offense, I can't imagine him doing it anywhere else. Could be wrong, but I'm gonna take my fantasy picks elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think he fills in for that Dar. I'll go boom Wale war. I think
it's Dare Ogunbowale.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, Dare or Dar, whatever his name is, he led the team in targets, and he led the team in receptions. So I think that's what McCoy will be. He'll be like a 3rd down back. He's a savvy veteran. He knows how to go out there and get it done. But I mean, like I said, now I just don't want anything to do with this backfield. I mean, I guess if it comes to a point of like a value, then I'll take a shot on one of these guys. But, obviously, like I said, it's a little bit more murky, and we'll see how things unfold as the season unwinds. We'll see if a change of scenery can kind of, help Fournette out.
For sure, definitely. I think that's all we got on this. But we got some kind of breaking news, though, that just came out. I don't know. Did you see it on your phone?
No.
Ryquell Armstead is on the COVID IR.
Oh.
The Jaguars' backup running back, who is positioned to be the starter after Leonard Fournette left, is now on COVID IR. They're saying that the backup – this is all literally just happened, so, take this advice not super serious because, we haven't fully looked into it. But the backup that they're saying could come in and take it is James Robinson. Looks like 5'9", 219, went to Illinois State. I actually, while we were doing this podcast, I just went and dropped Ryquell Armstead and picked up James Robinson. But
nice.
If you're in that position, just know Ryquell Armstead is now apparently on the COVID IR. So there's that.
But now he's on the COVID IR. It says right here.
Weeks.
It says here for the 2nd time this preseason he's been on there. But I would assume when he comes back, he's kind of the guy. I mean, we touched on it, when this.
But I'm not gonna.
Are you willing to start James Robinson?
No.
I mean, to me, it's the Chris Thompson show. And like I said, they play the Colts week 1. I'm expecting the Colts to have a lead for all of the game, pretty much. So I think a lot of throwing, which really suits Chris Thompson and his receiving ability. So I don't know if I'd be starting James Robinson and Devin Ozigbo.
So I'm not starting. I'm not starting either one of these. But what I'm looking at this as like a situation because running backs there's so many or so little amount of running backs that are worth it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it like this is maybe possibly I throw him on my team. There's no fucking way I'm starting him, especially against the Colts defense. But I throw him on my team. Maybe this guy has talent and he just doesn't get a shot. And then this is his shot. He shows up and absolutely goes nuts. You never know. Like an Eckler who did it in preseason.
Yeah.
The Angels won the pennant. The Angels could win the pennant. It could happen, dude.
Maybe he comes out hot.
Cancel. so hot right
like
now.
Hansel, and they're just like, okay, you know what? Like Ryquell Armstead, you're out for 3 weeks, so
Yeah.
he can't play till week 4.
I mean, if he comes in and-
maybe he solidifies his role as the starter, and then Armstead would still remain the backup.
Yeah, because you just never know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's I almost always have like one slot on my roster, especially in like 12-man leagues, which is like why I like deeper benches, because I can just take a shot on these guys and then drop them, not feel too bad about it or whatnot. But yeah, no, I mean, there's no fucking way I'm starting him against the Colts. I mean, I could see a situation where you're not going to start Chris Thompson, so why the fuck would I start James Robinson or one of these other guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wouldn't be mad at throwing Chris Thompson in the flex. Is that what you said? My bad.
No, yeah. I mean, that, like, you can what I'm saying is you can make the argument to not even start fucking Chris Thompson in week 1 against the Colts defense. So, like, why would I even try and make the argument to start James Robinson, you know? Yeah. So
if Chris Thompson is on your waiver wire, go get him, because he's going to end up having 5 or 6 catches in week 1 for 50-something yards and a couple rushes. Maybe he falls into the end zone. And he could be like the number 1 waiver wire, target. So I would rather just go get that guy, if he's on the waiver wire, and stash him if you don't want to play him. But yeah, go get Chris Thompson if he's on the waiver wire.
Yeah. But yeah, that was so we just wanted to go over some news, some recent headlines.
Should we beer bet from the Fournette and Rojo?
Who finishes better?
Well, yeah, because so here's the thing too. Like we did a draft. Obviously, you drafted Fournette when he was on the Jaguars. I drafted Rojo, thinking he would be the guy. Now they're on the same team. You want to do a beer bet? Who finishes
as a high running back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just do a friendly beer bet. I'll take Rojo.
Well, I'm not drinking, so I can't really beer bet.
All right, well, we'll do a bet. We'll do a degenerate bet.
No, we could. I don't know. We'll think of something.
We'll just do a bet, a friendly wager. But I will take Rojo. But you got to give me full point PPR since he gets no goal line work.
What? No.
What? He's not going to get any of the goal line carries.
No.
So you get the touchdown upside, but I don't get the reception upside of Ronald Jones?
We just said McCoy's going to get it all.
Yeah, but Ronald Jones is going to have more receiving upside than Fournette.
So you're putting yourself in. I could say the same argument for you.
But why? You're getting all the goal line and the touchdown upside. Fournette could get you 10 touchdowns potentially. Ronald Jones is not going to get you 10 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, but I can make the same argument. You're making the argument that it's not fair because Leonard Fournette's going to get all the touchdown upside, and I can make the argument that Ronald Jones is going to get all the reception upside. Yeah. So why don't we go fucking middle ground and go half point PPR?
Nah,
like gentlemen.
Full point PPR.
Full point PPR, dude.
Yeah, why not? McCoy isn't going to get all the goal line carries and all that.
What's my spread?
Just who finishes the better, higher.
I want plus 400.
No, it's just who finishes as a higher running back, Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette in PPR.
I want fucking plus 400, dude. On our invisible bet. That doesn't make any sense.
All right, I guess Mike's getting scared. You sounded so confident about Fournette, dude, and now you don't.
Well, because I asked if I could do half point PPR.
We're in a full point PPR league with this scenario, though. So you're saying that you would rather have Ronald Jones than Fournette in a full point PPR?
No.
Well, you don't feel confident enough to bet me that Fournette will have finished higher than Ronald Jones in full point PPR.
Yeah, I mean, you're making a good point, but I mean,
sketchy, dude.
And also, it's not like I drafted Fournette at Tampa Bay. I drafted him at a team that gave him 350 fucking touches last year.
Yeah, but you were just dogging Ronald Jones.
Yeah, I know.
But
and I'll do it again.
All right.
I don't understand why you can't meet me fucking halfway and go half point PPR.
Because we're in a full point PPR league.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the league. Yes, I'm in a situation. I'm in a situation where I have Leonard Fournette on my fucking team. So yeah, I'm gonna wanna. I'm like, obviously, that's where I'm gonna bet.
If anything is spoke any volume on this podcast, it's Mike's lack of confidence
All right,
to
fine,
take Fournette over
fine.
Ronald Jones in a full point PPR.
This is how he trades people, by the way. This is what he does. Is he'll like manipulate you until you like give in because you just give up.
Nope, never.
He cheats.
You know what, dude? I don't know
he
about
cheats
you. Dude.
He cheats in card games,
Listen, dude,
on his girlfriends, on everything.
Whoa,
dude.
I've been loyal to everyone.
No,
I've never once cheated. Listen, dude, I don't know about you, dude, but
the testosterone high today.
Listen, you stupid bitch. Thanks for listening to the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. This has been Michael Marcanio and Tyler Revelis laying down the facts machines, baby. Just kidding. We're laying down all the things you need to know. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Send us pictures of your team. We'll give you a little rating if you want. We're curious how you do. We're going to do another mock draft tomorrow. We're still deciding whether we're going to do it auction or regular, where some people asked us to do an auction one. But we're still figuring that out. But we should be releasing episodes almost every day until the season starts. So just look out for all this good stuff, good content coming out to you. Check it out on what else? Twitter, Instagram. Leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app. And I think we said it twice in this episode, but if you haven't, just know that we do a waiver wire episode every week during the season. And we also do a matchups episode. So we'll go down and break down who is willing, or who you should be starting and who you should be sitting week by week. So fucking check it out, baby. A little mini episode for you. Thanks for listening. Us big boys are out. Big bye.